People of Sudan got a slight relief from the massive ongoing conflict. According to reports, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pressurized the fighting leaders to pause the ongoing infighting. The warring generals agreed to hold and honor a 24-hour-long ceasefire. But shots were fired after this, and both parties blamed each other for breaking the ceasefire. The conflict, which broke out 4 days ago, has killed over 200 people and has left at least 1,800 injured, triggering what's been described as a catastrophic humanitarian crisis, including a total collapse of the health system. WHO Director General TRex has called on all conflicting parties of Sudan, asking them to provide much-needed medical aid to the ones affected by the catastrophic ongoing infighting. The conflict has killed more than 200 people so far, while reports say that more than 1,800 have been injured. The fighters have not even spared the medical staff as they went on attacking the aid workers, hospitals, diplomats, including a EU ambassador who was assaulted at his home. Israeli forces shot and wounded 7 people in a raid in the occupied West Bank. This was revealed by the Palestinian Health Ministry. Israeli military said that security forces are currently operating in the Jenin camp. This raid comes amid a spike in violence in Israel and the West Bank. Frequent incursions by Israeli forces have led to clashes with local youth or militants. The escalating conflict has claimed the lives of at least 96 Palestinians, 19 Israelis, and a Ukrainian and an Italian. A parking structure collapsed in New York's Lower Manhattan. At least 1 person died, 5 others were injured in the incident. No foul play was suspected in the collapse of the 4-story structure near the New York Stock Exchange. Firefighters had to be pulled back from rescue efforts since the condition of the site was unstable. Then, in a first emergency, personnel used robotic devices to check for further casualties, after which officials said that all victims were accounted for. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador accused the Pentagon of spying on his government. This comes after leaks in the United States media. The Pentagon termed the leak a deliberate criminal act. Obrador said that he would begin classifying information from the armed forces to protect national security, and this comes after media reports said that apparent tensions between Mexico's Navy and the Army. President Obrador has come under increasing pressure to hold the military accountable for years of alleged abuses, including reported disappearances and killing. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called for the launch of a spy satellite. This was reported by the Korean Central News Agency. According to the KCNA, Kim discussed the plan during a visit to the country's National Airspace Development Administration. Kim, with his daughter Kim Joo-ae, along with officials, was seen touring the space agency in Pyongyang. The KCNA report highlighted Kim saying North Korea needs to be able to have a space reconnaissance capability for military purposes. Scotland's First Minister Humza Yousaf had a war of words with the opposition, instigated by the ongoing police investigations into the governing pro-independence party. The arrest of the Scottish National Party's treasurer has significantly undermined the reputation of its new leader. The investigation is looking at what happened to more than $750,000 raised by British independence campaigners in 2017. The arrest comes as SNP, Scotland's dominant political party, faces deepening questions about its governance and finances. Residents in Northern Ireland's Londonderry hail the peace brought by the Good Friday Agreement. However, they say more work needs to be done to ensure stability and prosperity. To mark 25 years of the peace deal, world leaders, including former presidents and prime ministers, are in Belfast for a conference hosted by former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Last week, US President Joe Biden had also paid a visit to mark the anniversary, but sporadic violence continued and petrol bomb attack gutted police vehicles on the eve of Biden's visit. Teams from NATO nations and partners are training to defend against coordinated cyber attacks. The nations are organizing an exercise called Locked Shields exercise to help them equip their sensitive information from cyber hacking. The exercise is being organized by NATO's Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence, which is based out of Estonia. The center offers training and research to NATO members and partner countries. President Lula da Silva blamed digital networks and social media platforms for armed attacks on schools in Brazil. Lula called for a meeting with officials to analyze the attacks and threats to schools that have spread in Brazil recently. In the meeting, he said that the so-called big companies are profiting from disseminating violence and getting richer. In the last 3 weeks, 5 people have been killed in Brazil in 2 armed school attacks. A landslide during a thunder and lightning storm in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa buried more than 20 trucks. Officials said that at least 3 people have been killed and dozen more are feared to be trapped. 2 Afghan citizens have been killed, and officials say that the number of casualties could rise. They added that at least 20 to 25 containers were buried in the wreckage. Poland agreed to lift a ban on the transit of Ukrainian grain and food products. This comes 2 days after talks in Warsaw produced a breakthrough. Poland had imposed import ban to protect the markets from an influx of cheaper supply following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Polish agriculture minister and shipments of grain would be allowed, and they should be monitored and sealed. The Ukrainian first deputy minister said that she was confident that the exporters would respect the terms of the deal. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said that he had a phone call with US Speaker of House Kevin McCarthy. He said that he had invited the Speaker to visit Ukraine. They spoke over the phone when Zelensky was visiting the Poltava region. He also thanked McCarthy for the United States' unflinching support for Ukraine and its fight against the Russian invasion. He said that he raised the issue of needing weapons, including F-16s, and further called for setting up of a tribunal regarding Russia's aggression. Cubans are looking for a new and bright future. 470 new deputies of the Cuban National Assembly will take office today. Their first task will be to appoint a new president. The incumbent, Miguel Diaz-Canel, is expected to be granted a new mandate, but Cuba is facing a food and medicine shortage, and this is due to slow recovery of tourism and energy sectors after the pandemic. Mexicans are protesting to bring back the banned bullfighting event. Supporters of bullfighting delivered more than 33,000 signatures to the Congress of Mexico City in support of the tradition. This was after opponents submitted 15,000 signatures a few months ago calling for a permanent ban on bullfighting. A judge had granted bullfighting in Mexico City for an indefinite period in June 2022. One of the protesters said that they were defending a very important 5-century-old Mexican tradition. Residents living in the vicinity of Nevado del Ruiz volcano in Colombia seem unfazed by the increase in volcanic activity. The Colombian army has been updating the population on eruption threats and has delivered first aid kits in case they need to evacuate. The government also raised the volcano's alert level to orange recently. This was following a surge in seismic activity that suggested there was a heightened chance that the volcano could erupt in the coming days or weeks. Some 57,000 people are living in the volcano's hazard zone. Thousands from across the world took part in a march of the living to commemorate the victims of the Holocaust. They took a walk down a 3-kilometer path that connected former Nazi camps at Auschwitz. Over 1.1 million people died in gas chambers from starvation, cold and disease at Auschwitz. The Nazis had set up the concentration camps in occupied Poland during World War II. This year's event also commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where thousands of Jews gathered at a small area in Poland's capital, Warsaw, and hit back against Nazi occupiers. The Russian Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov, who is visiting India, has reiterated upon the strong relations India and Russia share. Manturov is also the trade minister, and he also spoke of trade ties between Moscow and New Delhi, which has exceeded $35 billion despite the external factors. He further added that trade between India and Russia has increased by more than 2.5 times. Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met Manturov on the second day of his India trip. The two leaders signed the final protocol of the 24th meeting of the Russian-Indian Intergovernmental Commission at the end of their meeting. Television network Fox has agreed to pay Dominion voting system $787.5 million to settle a defamation lawsuit over claims that Dominion's machines swayed the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. The settlement averted a weeks-long trial that could have seen top Fox TV host and network boss Rupert Murdoch publicly testify. The deal will cost Fox nearly half of the $1.6 billion that Dominion originally demanded. The skeleton of a giant TRex was sold for $6.1 million in Zurich on a Tuesday. The skeleton is only the third such ever to be put on auction, and the first one in Europe. It is said to be approximately 67 million years old. Two other TRex models have been discovered in North America, called Sue and Stan, and they were sold for $8.4 million and $31 million respectively in 1998 and 2020. Indians tourists thronged iconic monuments on World Heritage Day. Despite the heat wave-like conditions, World Heritage Day is observed on the 18th of April. The aim here is to create awareness among the people for the conservation of cultural heritage across the world. Residents in southern city of Hyderabad participated in a heritage walk. They spread awareness about the historic monuments in the city. The first World Heritage Day was observed in 1983 after it was established in 1982. It is celebrated with a different theme every year, and the one for 2023 is Heritage Changes. Eleven Indonesian fishermen were rescued by a helicopter from a remote island in northern Western Australia. They were stranded for 6 days without food or water after their fishing vessel was caught in a tropical storm. As per Australian officials, an aircraft was diverted to rescue the fishermen. Another vessel with 9 members sank due to the extreme conditions. The rescued fishermen were taken to the Australian mainland, where they were given medical attention. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.